5:15 workshop with Architect Workshop to discuss the future City Hall project. I'll now turn it over to the elected body and Architect Workshop.
So I'll re-ask this question again then. I initially had said something, we don't have the square footage yet because we're waiting, and this obviously contributes to that, how you do that. And I was also wondering if I was the only one who addressed out of the commissioners, the comments about the safety issues of the chambers where we are and being able to, ingress and egress in here instead of walking through everybody out there and et cetera. And then the parking's important because I think that we need a secure parking area with the employees that we can get in and get out. And I know specifically one of the other places that I mentioned that we've got to think about where the City Hall is. I mean, I'm happy with the City Hall where it is right here, but we're not like right on a railroad. And I'm a little concerned with that. And we're not right on the interstate. I'm a little concerned with that. So it's not where we are right now, but I think I addressed that a little bit in there, some areas that I would be concerned with. So, and then I think I asked, did other commissioners address this type of thing in their comments?
I guess to reiterate, yes. I think, yeah. Okay. So broadly, yes. The comments that you made were in line with what we were seeing from most everybody. Security is one of the handful of things that we see regularly and across the board in almost all our responses. So building security for not only commissioners, but for the staff who work here. Definitely more facilities and restrooms and such. A building that is much more efficient and actually designed for its purpose and not an adaptation of all of the losses and efficiency that you have when you have to renovate a bank building. Those were, I think, some of the broader, really, really common threads that we saw from everybody.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And that's kind of what we were hoping to do tonight, was kind of abbreviated version of what we've been going through with the different departments and staff, where they gave us a questionnaire and then we came back to them and we kind of covered 4 topics as we met with them. Discussed what they saw as the growth of their department over the next 20, 30 years, which, remind me, what was the population projection?
Yeah, so I think by the numbers right now, you guys are right around about 45,000 in population within the city. You may have more accurate numbers than I do. That's what I have found. We are doing projections for roughly the next 20 years, but we also know that you're not going to start construction this year. So what we're really saying is like 20 plus a few, so maybe like 2048, right? The best estimates that we have right now put the city population at something like 62-ish thousand people in. So you're looking at almost a 50% population growth in that time period, right?
And so we had the kind of conversations with everybody, and we thought we'd have with you of like, okay, thinking out that long term, how much do you see your department grow? And if we treat commission as a department, I guess the easy response is you wouldn't add any commissioners, but if you have 50% growth in population, would you ever see a growth in commissioners? So one topic to kind of talk about, and then we would walk through the goals and their aspirations for a new facility, and so we'd like to hear that from you. And then we try to really have a conversation about, okay, so it's a new building and the business of City Hall is serving the public. So how do you want to do business to the public? And so I think we could have that same conversation with you all. How do you see the commission working, the facilities we could provide in the building, helping interact with the public? And then lastly, which I think we've already started to hit, right? What resources you need to do your job well. So those are kind of the 4 main topics. So we could kind of just walk through. I think we kind of hit growth. So from Would you add commissioners if you had a 50% increase in population?
I would say like this. I think the city started out with a few thousand people, 3 commissioners. Then we hit a population trigger by state law. We went to 5. We might have been 10,000 people at the time we went to 5. So we got 5 for every 10,000 people. So I guess we'd need about 20 right now. And when we got to 60,000, 24?
You need 24 commissioners?
No, we don't need any more politicians. I was answering that like a politician to show you why you don't need any more of them.
Okay. I was showing my naivety. I can't say that word. Emily, tell me here. Other than that, what about your goals and aspirations for a new city hall? Maybe specifically for the commission chambers, but actually the whole city, the building. What would y'all see? What drives it? I mean, is it you go to certain towns maybe, and it's important, it's a very large edifice and screams, we're the public. And there you go to other municipalities and it's like, we want a very clean Chevette, and so what speaks to Mount Juliet when you think about a building and how it serves the public?
I think more seating capacity to some degree would be nice. Also be nice to be able to leave the table without fearing for your life sometimes.
And go in the restroom and then go all the way to the back of the room. So, and then Mayor, that was the only question that we'd started with, and Commissioner Giles brought that up, which is a great one. I totally get it. When you're sitting up here in the front and you could enter from the backside, exit from the backside, and the mayor's exactly right. We've had to limit just a few meetings ago and have people that had to step out of the hallway because they couldn't stand per the fire marshal. So having a bigger seating area so more people can come participate would be great.
We usually have some extra chairs up here, but it confuses people when we do that.
I think preliminary, we've gotten feedback from staff that a room that maybe seats 200 would be helpful. That'd allow you to address, the various boards you have, as well as the commission itself, which that's an assumption that you would have one room, a commission chamber, but it would also serve all the different municipal boards. But if you backed up a little bit more than beyond the commission chambers, what would you see the image, like if I'm a citizen coming to the city of Mount Juliet to do business with the city of Mount Juliet, excuse me, what would your goal for that interaction be? Or what complaints have you heard that you think you could address in a new building?
I mean, I've got a lot of complaints over the years, but I don't think I've ever had anybody complain about their experience in a building. Maybe the employee they dealt with, but not the building.
Okay.
Could I ask it this way? There is the business of City Hall, right? So a person comes to either make a payment, to get a record, or whatever, right? Would you like to see it? So you can pare it down to where it's a really efficient kind of interaction for those purposes, right? Do you see a need for any additional kind of public use of the building beyond the show up, do my business, and get out? Like I come, I meet with planning, development services, and I leave. Is there a place for community to come and like reserve maybe a conference room, make use of a larger meeting room? I don't know.
You could get into some stuff there with like access issues. Also, like a lot of the functions for city business occur during business hours. Like for City Hall, I mean, you get past 6:30 when there's not a meeting going on. There's no one in the building, so.
So I think of, like, when I was young, our scouts group would head over to the elementary school to meet after school, right? I don't know how many kind of organizations you have in the area that might need a place like that, or whether you want to incorporate that kind of a facility into any of the program.
Mr. Martin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the commission by any means, but with the fact that you guys stepped up and purchased the old daycare building that's been converted to additional meeting space if we needed it. And then, of course, the contribution we got several years ago from Panettone with the Panettone room. And if we had to, most of those functions for civic organizations, they actually used to meet in this building in the basement, but the demand got so high that there was a bit of a conflict, so we got away from that. So if somebody wanted to use the space during normal business hours, we would try to accommodate, but I think the other buildings we've got, unless the commission disagrees, will suit those needs. For example, we had a bigger meeting years ago. We borrowed the Mount Juliet auditorium. I don't know if you all remember that or not. So, but I'll leave that up to the commission. But I think we've got plenty of meeting spaces for those. A lot of those civic groups meet within the churches and things of that nature, and we don't want to compete with them because in some ways I think some of them charge for that, and that would take a little bit of a revenue stream away from them. So unless the commission saw otherwise, I think City Hall would be mainly for the city meetings as far as the city chambers, reserved specifically for the Board of Commissioners, and then the other like Beer Board, Planning Commission, things of that nature.
Okay.
It's a good question though.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer, right?
Yeah.
It's just a direction.
With supervision in that capacity too. So if it's not city personnel, and then, there's just a lot of things dealing with that. You got to be real careful to have. That's exactly right.
Mhm.
That's exactly right.
And as a citizen walking in, like if I wasn't on the board, I wouldn't know where to go. So it would be nice to have one location to go, and then you walk in and there's a lobby. There's somebody sitting there that can help you, in a seating area to sit down and wait for somebody to come out, whoever you might need. So, I mean, that would help me as a citizen
And
to
that's-
know to go to that one spot.
And that's a concept we see a lot of cities going to. It's kind of called a one-stop shop, right? As a citizen, you walk in, there's somebody that greets you. Made you smile.
We got many spots to shop. So.
Right, yeah. So it's one, and then it does two things, right? It simplifies it for the citizen. They're able to come in and they can encounter the government and solve the problem. The positive it also does on the other side of the conversation is it leaves the rest of the building secure. So you have an open, transparent building. People are able to come in and interact, but there's actually this wall, and they're not going beyond that. And so that leaves the staff in a secure area beyond it. And then over time, it allows you to more easily flex and adjust who's sitting where, and departments can grow and expand because public interaction is just around this lobby space. So that's a strong idea that we see other cities incorporating.
And one thing that I had put was a larger seating area, which you've already addressed for the public meetings. I know anytime I've ever called about a conference room, like if I'm going to meet somebody there, I've never had a problem with, if it happens to be already booked, then, I can meet in here. So I don't know that we need a separate conference room just for us. Maybe somebody else has had more of a problem than I have, but personally, I've never had a problem being able to meet somewhere.
We've seen where maybe you create a dedicated little space that's maybe near the city manager. The mayor isn't a full-time job, right?
Yeah, it's not a full-time according to our charter.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, you don't report to here every day.
No, no,
Yeah, so you don't have an dedicated office.
no, but I get a lot of people who want to meet me there, and I haven't found it yet.
So to that point, I've seen, like, maybe the city, the administration side, I have another space right next to it that acts as the office for the commission, the mayor, that you can come and meet with somebody.
If that was possible, that would be nice, because right now we do have a backup, but it's downstairs.
Yeah.
And then we have the room, of course, it's at the end of the building. But it would be nice if the building was large enough to create a space to where, like when we have a special meeting, sometimes they have to break away for a legal update,
Mhm.
and they could just step off from where they're at and step aside and go in. We used to do it in that little room there, and it's just way too tiny. So something like that would be, if it was maybe twice the size, that's where you guys could step aside, and the building was big enough for that. I do think that would be helpful, to where if you did just have. Mhm.
Do we know how many departments that would actually be going under one roof? And would fire codes and public works remain at the annex?
Yes, ma'am. You all being so generous behind that building. It's perfect for its use now as far as the public works and all in the building department. It would be nice if the building was large enough, depending on how the square footage works out. I could envision maybe moving a department or two back to City Hall where it makes sense. But when we moved planning up the road, that actually seemed counterproductive at the time. But since they do so much with public works and also the building department, it just made sense. But it's possible that if we reevaluated the square footage of the building, that we could possibly bring something back. The administrator, sort of like fire, if that makes sense, they're only in the building they're in because they're typically not in the same building as one of the fire stations.
Right.
So we could possibly move fire administration back, if that makes sense.
All right, so if we moved,
Every city struggles with what to do with their fire administration.
Yeah.
so if we moved some back under one roof, where do you think that would leave the annex? Would we still have enough to fill it up, or?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I do. Yeah, I just think from the growth in the years to come with this population of the city, and I don't envision that happening anytime soon. In other words, if this doesn't happen, and for whatever reason City Hall doesn't happen, we've got available space in this building now. We've also got the space in the current PD that it'll be switching up soon with the bigger meeting room. So we would be good for a while. So it wouldn't be an emergency to have to move anybody back. And if I did see anybody possibly moving back, it would just be the fire admin. But I think they're pretty happy and content in the building they're in. In other words, it would take something serious to happen in our staffing levels to move anybody, even with a new City Hall.
Well, wouldn't we want to know that on the front end though? Because wouldn't that determine the square footage that we would need?
That's a absolutely perfect question, because that's why they're meeting with, I think, all the department heads and getting feedback from them where they feel like they'd be best suited and which building to be in. You're right. Ideally, you'd like a 4-story building and everybody be in that one roof. I mean, under one roof, except for maybe public works, because they've got all the equipment and the machinery and things of that nature. But yes, that's what we're trying to determine as part of this, what makes sense to put back in City Hall. So you got one-stop shop.
So we are interviewing all the departments and understanding their growth and needs. And then part of this will kind of evaluate what could go in, what could go out.
So I guess my question is, if you determined that all the departments would come back under one roof except for Public Works, would it be justifiable to keep that entire annex over there just for Public Works?
That's a great question. Yes, I think so. And the reason I say that, I don't see planning and the building department moving away from public works, because what was happening before, if you all remember, when planning was downstairs, folks would come here for planning, and actually the next step they'd have to do is go up to the annex to meet with the building department, or sometimes they'd come here first and they needed to go there first, and then they had to get a building permit. So really, I don't envision anything from current public works facility moving, except for possibly if they got so big up at the current annex that we had to free up the space for the fire administration to be here. Does that make sense? That is an excellent question. I just don't see any other department up there except for maybe fire. And that could actually be overcome in the future with another fire station. If there's ever a fire station built, they might have enough room in there to put fire admin and the fire chiefs here. So I don't know if people want to speak to that, but I see your point. I just don't envision right now the way it's set up, it works the way that it is with planning and building department being on one side and public works on the other, because they have to work so much together. And when they were separated, there was a disconnect. So, but that's an excellent question. If for whatever reason we did move a lot of people out there, would you have too much building? And I think with our growth, especially in public works with greenways and sidewalks, and as our city ages and we get older, there's going to be even more maintenance that has to be done to repair all those things. So that's why I say I could see more people being up there for public works, but not the other departments. And if development went down, you may not need as many engineers. So I wouldn't see us adding additional engineers in the future. So.
And would that free up some space? Like, for example, if the one that comes to mind is Pleasant Grove, Pleasant Grove widening project where they had the big poster set up and then the Western Connector, that kind of thing. So that would free up some space to have public town hall meetings. Just to come look at like a discussion, to come look at the big poster and the options and just have discussions with the public.
Yeah. Yeah, like we had the one we were doing the Central Pike interchange, and it was one of the churches. You're saying instead of having it there, having it here.
Yeah.
That's
That room would be big enough for that type of thing,
Yeah.
most probably.
if you're
And I
changing-
find that, there's 2 meeting rooms over there at that annex. And I find it so much better to go over there because in actuality, this building is just all administrative. It's not for the public to come except to pay the sewer and the taxes. Isn't that correct? There's nothing else paid here, is there?
No, unless they just want to.
Stormwater, business tax.
Yeah, and all of that's
beer,
just in,
liquor,
but all of that's in that one area.
except
So-
beer and liquor.
Where's that at?
But we need up
Up there.
She
Okay,
goes up
okay.
there too, yeah.
So what I found by going over that annex, if I have a meeting with like a developer or something, you've got the planning, you've got the public works. If you need both of them, it's more convenient for cities. So they're not having to send personnel over one place and then somebody else going some of the other. So I found it very convenient to meet over there. And so I would think that would stay over there. But, and then if people want to build a permit, it's all over there too. So it's really, those departments are really great. Of course, the fire's over there too, but there again, there's, I rarely have to meet with fire. It's just the developers that's coming. So,
Yeah, like stormwater and sewer, you guys brought that the department on. Of course, they'll continue to grow in the future as well. And, but that's why we're just trying to put everything in one spot. If you go to stormwater, you got to talk to sewer about development. But that's a great question.
We're on the topic now, we have been, about these resources that you need for your own commission work, right? Nights like tonight, when you have a work session, in some municipalities, I know they kind of change the venue for those kinds of activities, right? Do you like having work sessions in this room? Would you prefer to have sort of a more like a conference room kind of environment?
Or like-
room, or-
Like Franklin, I've been there for the work session. They actually come out from there and everybody sits around a large table in front. And in Jackson, they actually go to a separate conference room and have the work session ahead of time. Part of it's a change of mentality, change of venue, gets everybody collaborative and talking.
Other work sessions.
Ours, we have a legal requirement that these be filmed.
And there's
So-
one too.
Well, we don't have that capability in all the conference rooms. It's
Right.
primarily the driver for why we're sitting here. Can we get the doors closed for the noise?
But in this conversation, Mayor, we're trying to brainstorm about the ideal,
Yeah.
not the handicap situation you found yourself in. So-
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that because we would have to incorporate that into it.
Right, sure, yeah, so in ideal world, where we are right now in space needs assessment,
Yeah. And
would
I-
it benefit the commission to actually be able to step out from behind and all sit around the table with the staff they work with?
I see where you're coming from, but probably from a security standpoint with all that we've witnessed in recent years, sadly, I like having them up there. The only thing I
I
could
do too.
envision is maybe their seating area being a little bit bigger to where if they wanted to add additional commissioners in the future, if they did that, or if they wanted other staff members to sit up there. So that, I like the fact they can face everybody. And I know what you're talking about. I've seen the workshops where they bring the tables down here, but for IT, it's difficult because the mics and the wires and things that nature start getting to safety things. I've seen that,
Yeah.
and it's, but I don't think something like that'd be necessary for you. I prefer them to be so they can face the people they're serving. And that tends to be, some of them are left on the wrong side of the table. You're back to the people that are here to hear you speak and look you in the eyes.
So it's kind of the joy of this profession we're in. Every community has its own culture.
Mhm.
So you have to pull it out of it.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with the building part, but I would like those separate buttons when you vote. You just push yes or no. You know, it's like the school board has. I do like those.
Yeah, and maybe like a board up on the wall
Yeah.
too, where you see it.
We had something like that for about a month at one time. That's as long as it lasted.
Oh, yeah?
Sorry, what are the buttons?
Well, yeah.
It
The
slowed it
button
down?
was entirely too complicated for some to operate.
Oh, okay.
And
There.
it really slowed the meeting down.
Was it for speaking? Was that the purpose of the button?
No, it was actually voting.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh.
I think it was like a little iPad looking thing, and one side was green, one side was red.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And you push the green side for yes, and you push the red side for no. And that slowed the meeting down greatly.
You have a very dry sense of humor, don't you?
I just tell it what I watched.
All right. So then, what else do we need to? We kind of covered our another section.
Yeah, I think so. Can we ask maybe one more time? We think about the sort of municipal character of this building, right, in the community. Do you have any thoughts about that you'd like to have incorporated or shared?
Like the architecture.
I know, put it this way. I know when we were working on the police facility with DC Chandler, right? It was always really important to him that the lobby of that building was a place that anybody could just show up for any reason. Like if you are a remote worker, he wanted the lobby to be a place that a remote worker could walk in and grab a cup of coffee and be comfortable, right? That has to do with kind of the character that you are presenting to the community. Right? So I'm thinking along those lines. Do you have any thoughts of what you want to be, how you want to be seen?
I mean, I want it to be professional looking, and I've not always been able to say that about some of our facilities.
So words like that are actually really, really good. So that's good. Keep going.
Professional looking, welcoming. That's probably the two that come to mind immediately.
It's good.
We've had a little history in this town, and I don't. It's not a bad thing at all, but a lot of times we've just settled for whatever the absolute cheapest thing. If it wasn't quite functional, we bent over backwards to make it functional, and sometimes from the outside looking in, it didn't always exude confidence to people. That it just draws questions sometimes. And there's nothing wrong from a municipal standpoint of having functional buildings. We're not talking about, everybody likes the word, we're not talking about Taj Mahals or anything like that, but we are trying to strike a balance between cost and long-term sustainability as far as upkeep of the structure. And we just don't want to put down the cheap linoleum floor just to have a hole wire through it next year and then pay somebody twice as much to rip it out. So there's got to be a balance in that.
I think we've got to be careful in comparison to the police department for an open area for people to come have a cup of coffee when they want to. And I'm a huge coffee drinker. Everybody knows that. But you've got a police department where you've got people who are, most of those people are armed, and people's not going to go in there most of the time unless somebody truly has some mental instability to do anything, to harm anything. But, we're concerned as a city hall. That's why we have police in here when we have our meetings, because we don't know who's going to come up or who comes in deranged or something to try to do something. So I think we've got to think about protection for our employees too during that time. I love what y'all have done at the police department. I've gone through it. It's fantastic. I understand that concept and why it's there. I just don't think that would
No,
work at our city hall.
Perfectly fair point.
Yeah.
And in that regard, it's also, I mean, they are right next to the park, right? So there is an opportunity that people will be going to the park one day and just wandering the lobby, right? So that doesn't, I don't mean that to imply that you're supposed to be like that, but just, I'd love to.
I know it was just an example. But I'm looking at that.
But also to elaborate on that point, in the police station, that lobby is open and transparent, but there is a very clear, secure line wrapped around that lobby that you can't go past without authorization. And it includes ballistic protection for those officers. So I could see something like that for the city hall as well. There's a clear, open, transparent, welcoming lobby, but there's a clear line nobody can go past.
I think an expansion of resources in that lobby to let people know where is going on and how they can do it is real important in that city hall without having a place that everybody can just lounge on a couch. You know, I think that's important because people says, well, and we've got it on the website, how I do this, what I do. And I think that's really good. We can have something like that in there because people will stop by and they won't look at the website sometime.
Yeah,
So they may find the resources without having to take somebody from City Hall to come out to try to explain to them if there's, so I think that's important.
So like clarity as a kind of founding principle within the public space is probably reasonable.
Yeah, practical. It's funny because when the mayor said that about the Taj Mahal, when we got this bill in 94, 95, it's a great building. I think we paid $800,000 for it at the time. And it was a big step for the city considering where we were coming from, but it was cheaper to do this type roof than it was to repair the flat roof. So they put the copper roof on it. It's still on it to this day. And it was on the front page of the paper said city builds Taj Mahal. Y'all may remember that some of you were here. And I was like, so but I think practical is what the commission is looking for. They're hardworking folks and they understand that you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, but yet something's going to last a long time and be welcoming and practical from day one instead of something sometimes that you add something in year later, it's antiquated. Like,
So when you think about security for you all, when I think about a courthouse, there's a lobby and everybody is screened to get past that lobby. And you don't go into the rest of the courthouse without being screened. That's a high level of security being provided. Is that the kind of level of security you would like to see maybe incorporated in accessing the commission rooms? Because then that would establish.
We've been there, done that. We sold those, what were they? The metal detectors on govdeals.com or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, current situations may change that, or I don't want to speak for everybody, but I mean, to me, it's like, what's the difference here or the parking lot?
Yeah.
My thoughts.
Well, we should make them have to show their license with a star to get in. I'm kidding.
I did. The guy who showed up late needs to point out that we've got 2 minutes left on the time.
Y'all have done excellent. This is what we're
Yeah.
seeking.
Do you guys have anything else you'd like to ask us? I want to make sure.
I think so. You got 2 minutes. Input.
Oh, I sent it.
I haven't read it yet, so you go ahead and state it.
Oh, okay. I don't know, maybe it's not gonna be a popular comment, but I think we should stay where we're at. But if we had to build something and somebody's gonna do it for free, I don't think we need a whole lot of space, actually. We've got a lot of extra capacity over the new police department, which I toured last week. And we got a lot of capacity over at Public Works, which is a building we acquired for over $10 million, with some additional room to build offices over there. So I would say it would be pretty minimal. And if it is decided that we build a new city hall, which I think we should stay where we're at least for the foreseeable future, we need a larger conference room and a larger chamber. Biggest, and I guess like tonight, we're going to have people standing outside. So those are the only two comments I have. Three.
I mean, to tag on to what he said, when the conversations about a city hall started, we didn't have a lot of the space that we have now with the annex building. So it's a good position to not feel rushed to need to do anything and be able to take it slow and be very intentional about what we do, as opposed to 8 people having to work in pop-up tents in the parking lot. We're not anywhere close to that.
And really, that's our goal out of this, is right, just to give you the data of what the space needs could be as the city moves forward to help you give data to make decisions. That's our goal.
Like it.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Sorry I couldn't be here earlier.
Missed you.
All right, with that, we're adjourned.